All right, welcome back, Swizzy. What was the new phrase for the Beans episode?
The best of beans, baby.
Beans, the best of Beans, Part B. I like that, right? So
Part
we
B.
just finished up. We were giving Beans his trophy, man. Again, one of the most consistent stepfather that I've seen in my entire life. And I want to kind of delve into your family life. I think I love that I'm breeding. I'm trying to push Rich and Twizzy over to some social work or mental health counseling, man. I think they'd be phenomenal at it, but that's just me, man. That's just me. But Twizzy talked about those aces, man. And again, Johnny, I don't want to, put you on the spot about some stuff, but when we talk about these complex traumas, these traumas that consistently kind of shape who we are today. Even for you, man, you talked about your little sister. What was her name, John?
Tory.
Tori, right? And then Jenny, who we all love too, right? She passed away as well. Your uncle passed away. Um, how do you as a man deal with things like that? How do you, because you're still one of the most um, well
Uh,
happy. I don't want to call you happy, but you enjoy life. You don't let stuff stick to you. How do you do that with everything going on?
oh man. It's crazy, bro, because you kind of like, and I'm not better than nobody, man. Everybody's different. But I've gotten asked that question a lot. Like, yo, how do you just do it or whatever? Life goes on, bro, and you got to understand that just because somebody's not here anymore doesn't mean that they don't want you to be who you are or who you're supposed to be, right? So if we keep dwelling on their loss, and it'll eat us all alive, anybody, because you got to start getting into your own head. Um, my sister, Tori, just way too young. Um, you know, I used to chaperone her trips and stuff to for school and all that.
Yeah.
Um, so that was just so, just because she was so young, so beautiful. Um, but you gotta want to live for them. You know what I'm saying? Uh, my sister, there was nothing I couldn't say to my sister um, while she was on life support that she didn't already know. So there's a piece I had with my sister. My father's the only death that bothered me, bro.
Yeah.
So, but even his, like, I was in my feelings about his death for a long time. But you got to get over it. You gotta push through, and it kind of makes you a better person because my father's death he's the reason why I won't hold any grudges anymore. Because I held a grudge with him, and the guy was calling me for 3 months before he died, bro. And literally, my dad died 3 days before his 56th birthday.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I was planning to go with and have dinner with him. You know what I'm saying? All right, Daddy, we talking again. And he died literally 3 days. He died Friday. His birthday was Monday. You know what I'm saying? So he's the reason I won't have grudges. So I kind of try to look at it like, all right, we gotta take, we gotta learn the lesson. You know what I'm saying? So my dad's lesson was not to hold grudges.
Okay.
Because time is limited. So that's how I do it.
All right. So and part of this is what we do, is to kind of give our and I don't want to say tricks because it's not tricks, but our abilities to cope with things. So your coping skill is to kind of utilize a negative situation, like with your dad, and just utilize that as positive, right? So since there was a grudge there, now I can utilize this, for future. I'm never going to hold a grudge again, because life is too short.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
One of the things that happens in our few podcasts, and if everybody that's listening out there, man, I said it the other day, um, from the John Soletics interview, but so many, you know, people were literally like, "Oh, yo, when's that next episode coming out? And I was humbled. I'm so humbled that anyone finds me, Rich, and Twizzy interesting, and that what the content we provide um, is
Y'all do a good job, man. Real talk. You're doing a really good job, man. It's definitely refreshing to see. I mean, it's not another rap hip hop podcast.
Yeah.
You know, there's a million of those.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what it is, man. I don't want to do that. I think we're all old enough now. None of us are spring chickens except Twizzy. But you know, we're older now. We're more.
You think he old.
You know, and I hate even the stigma about, you know, men. You know, that's why, like, you know, we're gonna have a female series coming up soon, but all episodes are all men because we need to kind of make this normal. Talking about our feelings, talking about our traumas needs to be normalized. It doesn't make you a woman. It doesn't make you soft. It doesn't make you, you know, whatever negative terms we use that I don't want to say on air right now. But with that being said, John, and I bring it up, you know, our viewers, because invariably people get upset. So some people get upset, you know, even like you, like, so I wanted to talk to you about this specific thing. And again, it doesn't discredit that you're successful in other areas, but this is just what we want to talk. So some people get offended about that. And family members is the big thing. And I know it personally, and what we say here isn't to kind of offend anyone, but your perception of the way you grew up and the way you're stating it now can invariably offend somebody else. And I bring this up because when you grew up, you lived in your grandparents' house, right?
Yes, sir.
And
my grandparents.
Your older brother, right? George, right? Who, you know, he's my friend too. I mean, he's not as close as I am with you, but I love George too. But I'm interested in, with your brother, he's your older brother. So Rich, Bean's older brother, George, looks up to Beanz like he is Derek Jeter. Tell me not, Twizzy.
Listen, you haven't told any lies.
Yo,
shout out to my brother, man.
Shout out to George. Man. But Rich, he was telling me one day about baseball, right? Now we're all grown men, and he's like, my brother Johnny has the home run world record in BYA. All he did was hit home runs. He was the best. And I'm like, yo, like, we're old now. Like, that's cool, but I don't even remember that. So I want to, you know, it's interesting. So you live the grandma with George, and again, I'm not trying to discredit him, but you, from what I see, I've always seen you look out for him. He's almost kind of and again, it's not to put him on blast, but he almost seems like he doesn't have it together and he needs that kind of assistance. And again, I'm not trying to play him at all. But the point is, for you, right? You always kind of had your hat on straight and you always looked out for him. How did two people from the same household have the same exact life, but you are so different from he is?
It comes down to just, I don't know. I love my brother, man. I'll do anything for my brother.
Again, and like I said, I don't want this to anyone to see
no,
it and be like,
no. Look, whatever you're saying, there's nothing I haven't told him, and I tell people to, you know, you guys, family or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Rich, we're cool. But there's nothing I'm gonna say about somebody that I ain't telling to their face. So for it to be on the internet ain't gonna be no secret. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I love my brother, man. I don't know why. I know my grandfather definitely spoiled him. You know, he definitely gave my brother a lot. My grandfather gave me more of the tough love. You know what I'm saying? Johnny has to work for it. Johnny has to show and prove. But it made us different, right? So I remember there was a situation, not even gonna get into that, but there was a situation with my crib or whatever. And people wanted us to get out. And I remember going to my grandfather, like, yo, I'm good. I can handle myself. I wasn't even living there. I said, but George, I'm saying, sorry, my bad. But you gotta let him stay. And that's just, I mean, I don't know why. That's just, like I said, I was telling Rich earlier, people are who they are. And I don't judge them for who they are, or, you know, I don't try to know why they are the way they are. You know, I just accept them for who they are. And I just try to help my brother, man.
Yeah. I remember that story vividly. I remember you telling me like, they say we gotta go, I gotta go, but I talked to my grandpa, and you know what I'm saying? Like George, he needs to stay, man. He won't be all right on his own. He has a bunch of health conditions too. And again, this wasn't to discredit him, but I always find it super fascinating. I mean, look at my household. I use my household with my older sister and me and my twin sister and my little brother, and we're the most different people ever. Even me and my twin sister, we have education that's similar, but our personalities are totally different, right? So how do four people in the same household, Twizzy man, what's up? What was that? What was that move right there, Twiz? What is that, man?
You guys went this way. You guys are like this, man. But it's the same thing in my
language, but different.
Yeah.
Same thing in my household too. So.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just so interesting. I mean, and that's why I'm in my line of work to try to kind of figure out why that occurs. Even in my family, my family, all my uncles from my pop's side, even my mom's side, my grandpa, that all they are is hardworking carpenters, mechanics, whatever it is. They had some kind of very, very strong work ethic, and they think if I just work, that's it. It fixes everything. That's part of their therapy. Just go to work. Everything. Oh, I have a cold. Go to work. I have depression. Go to work. And it doesn't work like that, right?
That's just the older generation, man. Those are the baby boomers, bro.
But it's crazy. You know how hard it is to break that cycle, though? Because even me personally, I go through the same thing. I'm like, as long as you go to work, do what you got to do, like all that other stuff, like talking about feeling. I can't seem to grasp my head around that. Like, as much as I know people need it, and it's hard for me to be like, what's bothering me today? Like, I'm like, hey, I'll be all right. I'll just go sleep it off or something like that. Which is not,
I second that, Rich. I second that, Rich, because I'm the same way. You got to get over it because nobody cares. Like, real talk. Like, I just feel like, putting down to me and my brother's situation, like, I feel like he does a lot of self-loathing. I don't do that. I don't look for pity. I'm not doing none of that. Again, we're not talking bad about him. I'm just saying some people are like that, but I'm just not.
But I think a lot of that comes from, I don't even know your brother, but I think a lot of times when people do a lot of that self-loathing and it depends on how the people around them react to it.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Because if Johnny, if you were supposed to go out there and just be like, man, things that just ain't, they'd be like, this ain't you. What's going on? Get over it. That's what you normally do. But if it's your brother, it's going to be a different reaction because that's what they expect. Just like you said, we know how people are. They are who they are, and that's how we leave it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Just to even go back into like a classic line, because I know we don't like talking about hip hop, but we go back to a classic line by Killer Priest when he was like, I judge wisely as if nothing never surprised me. That's a perfect example of how we got to look at people. It's like, I got you. I'm not judging you, but I'm not going to be surprised by your actions either.
Yeah.
But I mean, what's interesting too, but nowadays it's not like that. So
right,
right. I want to have that conversation on air with you, Rich, and that's another topic approaching. But these kids nowadays, man, they're so emotionally fragile, man. There's literally not 2 days that I don't have to do a safety assessment for self-harm or suicide because they're,
Definitely.
and I'm just thinking, and this is kind of, I'm trying to nudge Rich a little bit too, because he's new to this education game. I got to make him a little softer, but these kids, they're stressed out, especially with the virtual learning, man. And, sometimes we as men will kind of fall victim to that too, and we'll fall back into our kind of old fallacy of no, you're a man, you got to do this. But these kids aren't like that anymore. Whether it's good or bad, but it's for them, it's literally life or death. They're so enmeshed and so emotional and so unstable that sometimes the only thing they can do is think about suicide, and there's been some big scares, especially this year.
Oh, trust me, like when I was speaking about like the feelings part, that's like me personally, like that's what's so different that like I can talk to a kid, adult, anybody about what's going on and be the most beautiful, caring counselor, mentor, whatever it needs to be. I don't give myself the same advice or take it the same way from me. You know what I'm saying? Like I could never be today's generation growing up because of the way I thought back then. These kids are there. There's a different world because they have way more. They're exposed to more. They see so much more outside of their lives. Are different.
Cut it off, but I think a lot has to do with social media, the perception of what people think is cool, the end thing, and hold on, and it kind of has a negative effect on children. Like, damn, I don't look like that. You know, I don't have Jordans, or I don't have that new V Long T-shirt. And it does something to them where they don't feel, I don't know, cool. If that's,
Yeah.
But it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
It's peer pressure too.
Put onto the younger generation because they're exposed to so much more. They don't understand like the push that it took for those people that they look at as being successful. They don't know that background that it took for them to get there. Nowadays, everybody can see just the success, and you don't know about the work that goes into it.
Exactly.
And even if you see the work, you still want the end result. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody wanted to play like Jordan, but we understood everybody couldn't be Jordan. We knew that. You know what I'm saying? We accepted that. Nowadays, everybody wants to be the Jordan of whatever this generation is, but no one wants to take away that they're not. But you can still be just as good. You can still be a great player, great whatever you're going to be. You can't be the best at everything. And I don't think that these kids put a lot of pressure on themselves because they want success instantly. And it's like they don't realize how much life they have in front of them if they just take it piece by piece and put it on a plan and just move forward with it.
You know, one of the things that, you know, is interesting with you guys is that, you know, all four of you, I mean, you guys know me, you know, I kind of develop respect mutual with all of you because we can make fun of each other and diss each other. And it's Beanz too. Beanz is good like that. He's laughing now, but we had some real good roast sessions where it's and we don't get offended by it. And it's like, oh man, that was crafty. You got that when you win. But these kids, you know, and Beanz, not to come off you, but I want to kind of touch on this subject. I'm sorry, my apologies. I want to touch on this subject while we're here because nowadays, especially from back when me and Rich were in school, you know, in the early 1920s. But these kids, you know, I see it all day in school, man, in the high school and the middle school. They almost endure complex trauma all day long, you know, and I always use complex trauma. So Beanz, the definition of complex trauma, the easiest that I kind of teach my patients is continuous long-term trauma. So it's always going to happen for an extended amount of time, right? So think about stuff like your dad as an alcoholic, right? That's complex trauma. You know, my dad who every time, you know, just even thinking, my mentality without him even being there was a trauma. When's he going to come home? Is he going to be drunk or not? Is he going to be yelling at us? Is he going to be hitting on us? Right. So these kids, even though it's not so intense as that, you know, going through school nowadays where if you trip and fall and someone records it and posts it on the internet or makes a meme, you know, I've seen some, and I hate to say it, but some really funny stuff that's used between kids, and I'm like, oh man, it's so bad. And then within a second, the entire school knows. So they have to deal with this, and it is so stressful. And it's definitely, you know, I talked to Joey today, and he's like, you know, he faced Johnny FaceTimed me earlier, and Joey got on the phone, and when we hung up, he's like, "Are you guys doing the podcast today?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh man, I want to be in it too." I'm like, "Oh, you know, one day I got something for you." And then he's like, "Can I ask you a weird question?" And I'm like, "Sure." "How many subscribers do you have?" And I'm like, "What?" And so I told him, I showed him, and he's like, "Oh, you have more than me." Meanwhile, you know, he has a little YouTube channel. He posted like one video 2 years ago, but now he was like literally hurt, like, "Oh man, my dad's YouTube is better than mine." So he doesn't have that, you know, when we talk about image Beanz too, right? So image is how you see yourself, how others see you, and how you think others see you. So his image, right, is affected by that because now it's like in his mind, how he sees himself is that daddy has a better podcast than him. You know what I mean?
But you know, like with that, even the student, you know how many times I talk to students and they tell me they want to be YouTubers. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
You know, then my follow-on question is like, what's your topic going to be? What, you know what I'm saying? What are you doing to do it? Like, what's going to make yours different from this person? Like, oh, you want to have a cooking? Okay, well, what's your, you know what I'm saying? What's your go-to recipes? Things like that. It's like everybody wants to be in the forefront nowadays. And like I said, it goes back to the pressure they're putting on themselves of being in the forefront, but not realizing that there's going to be a lot of hurdles you got to go over. There's going to be some failures that you have to take those L's in order to get to where you're trying to go. And these kids aren't being told that. They're not understanding that everybody's not going to get a trophy today. But you can get one. You can get one. It's just that everybody can't get it.
it's this facade of instantaneous success.
Exactly.
They want it right then and there.
Exactly. And this is why I actually want to play devil's advocate. And you guys also, one thing that we also have to address is that not everybody is doing what it is that that the youth and even us as people are perceiving them to do. The facade is one of the biggest points or the biggest plays in society right now. You get what I'm saying? There are people
so Twizzy connected, man. What's that word called, Twizzy?
What? Which
word? What's the word we used earlier that explains that?
That crazy D word.
Dramaturgical, right?
Yeah,
and again, and I use that all the time, guys, because once you realize that people aren't who they are, so my patients, when I tell them this, they think, oh, what are you saying? Everybody's fake? And I'm like, yeah, to an extent, every single one of us is fake, because we're not. And I know for a fact. I'm not the same person that I am when I'm talking to Rich as I am with Twizzy. I'm not the same person as I am with Twizzy that I'm talking to Beanz, right? And I'm definitely not the same person as I'm talking to my boss at school, right?
I got my professional voice. You know what I'm saying? To y'all, I'm Beanz. To my fan, I'm Johnny. Boom, boom, boom. At work, I'm John Lee. My full first name, I'm
John Lee.
100 Street definitely took that Florida life 100% on.
Right, good. And just to jump back now, John, so my apologies, we segued, and Rich was talking too. So once he's talking, I'm like, oh, that means he's in. He likes this topic. But so it was interesting too, right? So, I tell all of you guys too, right? I don't, and I shouldn't say it this way, but I don't like when people have kids and they don't give them a better life than that they had. So my goal, and I say this all the time, like, in order to have kids and to make the decision to have kids, I knew that I would do everything possible to make Joey's life better than mine was, which means I'm giving him kisses constantly. You guys see me, right? Telling him I love him, hugging him, right? He's never felt the hand on his body. And I think that's the biggest gift that I've ever given him, was never. I got hit all the time. So he's never been demeaned where he's been hit or slapped or kicked or thrown things at, right? So Johnny, man, and I want to, in a joking way, man, you spoil the heck out of your stepdaughter, man, and that's not a bad thing. And I always tell people,
no, I mean, it's
to an extent, exactly. You don't just give it to her, but I truly, and I honestly,
I had teachers call me, bro, about it. So.
Oh man.
You're confusing John, Rich.
Talk about that. We'll talk about that afterwards.
Yeah. Richard, we got to tell the story, man. Joey, when he was little, man, he's a very even-keeled guy, man. And you can see it with me. Johnny's like this too. Twizzy's like that too, man. When we talk about our kids, man, I light up. I just think my son is the cat's meow, like the ladies would say. But when he was little, I had to reach out to my man Rich, man. Joey got mad, man, and he was little. He probably had to be like 3, and he didn't know what he was doing.
I think I was there that night. I think I was there.
Visiting. Yeah. So but Joey was little, and he was pissed off, and I even like when he gets mad, but he usually just calms down. But he was little. He didn't know what he was doing. He reached over, grabbed the lampshade, and slapped me with it. So Rich likes to bring that up, man. But again, and I think back at when I was a kid, if I ever did that to my mother or father, I would not be able to go to school the next day. And that's and I hate to say this because so many people rule with iron fist and don't realize that that's so detrimental to your kids. But I believe, Johnny, I don't care what anybody says. I don't care about professionals. But if your kid loves you and knows you're going to take care of them, I think that's much more fulfilling and rewarding in their mind and their mental capacity than anything else. I take
tremendous pride in knowing that within my heart of hearts that I'm really trying to give her the world at any given point in time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really like if the moon had a price tag, bro, I'd try to buy it. Sure. If that's what she wanted. You know what I'm saying? And it bothers me when other parents don't do that, or don't feel like that. It really does. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, brother, I do know, man. Again, and this is why, like I said, you're so successful in so many other things, but you even being not a non-biological parent, and I don't mean that negatively. I love you like a brother.
Yeah.
But like you figured out that even though I'm not her biological dad, she still deserves that from somebody. And again, it's why you're here on the show, man, because at some point, men in general, stereotypes of men come from men who haven't figured it out like us. They won't be a good dad. They think it's like a bother to be be with their kids, or I have I hate to say it, but associates, I won't even call them friends, but they get mad when they're with their kids. And I'm like, you know how this day will,
the ones that be like, yeah, I got my kids this week.
Yeah. It's crazy, right?
You know how I feel about those people.
Yeah, man. It's like people don't realize, and I think all three of us as parents, and even Rich as an adult, but like the way your kid is today is not the way it's gonna be tomorrow. And I'm seeing it in my son every single day. He's, I posted the other day his size 6 shoe. Like, what? Where did your little cute baby toes, where I used to kiss your little toes, go? He wears the same size shoe as Twizzy, man. It's nuts.
I knew that was coming. I was waiting for it.
I had to segue into that, man. Right. So, John, you lived with grandma and grandpa, right? That's was at the house, right? They own the house.
Yeah.
And then you had John, and then your mother lived there too, right?
Yep.
George, I should say. I'm sorry, right? Who did you? And you said this earlier. I know we talked about this on our personal note, but did you have any male figures outside of your dad that really led the groundwork for you to be the man you are today?
My grandfather. Supreme,
all right. So
supreme.
Listen,
supreme
your job also here is to give him his trophy right here. So what's Grandpa's name?
I love my grandfather. My grandfather, I come from a family of Marines. My father, my uncles, my grandfather. My grandfather was very organized. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, he gave me, I don't know why he was the way he was with my brother still to this day. But for me and my sister, he was definitely that tough love. Like, you get what you want in your life by the work you put in. So you live as good as you want to live. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't work for it, you're not gonna get it.
Mm-hmm. Let me jump in here. So, and again, and I the contrast between you and George is so different. So why? And again, I don't want to put this word out.
You're so amazed by George.
Yeah, because you guys are so different. Like, why? So why was George babied so much?
I don't know, brother. I really don't. But you know what? I knew, and not to talk about my uncle and my dad. My uncle and my dad didn't get along, but my uncle's gripe with my grandparents was that they loved my dad, I guess, more or whatever, right? So growing up, again, that was something I grew up with. Like, he always felt like that. He always talked about it. I try not to look at the way my grandfather treated my brother. I tried to look at the way he treated me. And he gave me something he didn't give my brother, was a sense of, you have to be independent. You have to learn to provide for yourself. Mm-hmm. So
how did he treat Jenny?
The same way. I mean, this
same as you or same as George?
Nah, same as me.
Oh, okay.
George is still to this day the number one.
I know, man. You tell me that all the time, and I've seen it, and I know it's true.
Yeah, my grandfather tell you, be like, oh, number one. My grandfather's cool because he doesn't hide. My grandfather, a lot of people don't understand my grandfather, and not for nothing. My grandfather, my grandfather, first and foremost, took care of my mother, which is not his daughter. He took care of my mother, which is my dad's wife, who's from the Philippines.
Yeah.
My grandfather made her come over here because he wanted to take care of her. So that was my grandfather. My grandfather took care of 3 of us, plus my mother. That's 4 people. He didn't have to do none of that. So for that, I'm forever grateful. And I'll, you know what I'm saying? Sorry. But, just a great guy. I think he's very misunderstood because he's such a stern dude. Mm-hmm. But man, you'll never meet a guy that could provide for his 3 kids, his son's 3 kids, and he's helped out with a bunch of his grandchildren or whatever. So that guy's amazing, man. Amazing. You know, very, very misunderstood, but he's very, man, you'll never meet another guy like him.
All right. What
that's how it goes, those being, you know, the people that are stern and straight to the point, the people closest to them know that exterior, how to get around that. You know what I'm saying? It's only to outsiders where they see like, oh my God, why is he so mean? It's like,
yo, that's everybody. Everybody thinks
you look at me like, nah, he's good. He's not mean.
It's funny. Rich jumped in on that, man, because that's how Rich is. Rich is super. Look at him right now. Look at him. I'm afraid to talk to him. Right?
Nah, but you know what I'm saying, because you know I know.
Rich, I'm gonna cut you off because I don't think people know you like I know you. But Rich. You know, he's family, and for many reasons, and he's tough, and he's, you know, he has his boundaries, which is not a bad thing. But Rich will give you the shirt off his back, man. Rich he's a genuinely good dude, and despite his very militant like appearance, he's always been a good dude. He's always, you know, if you need him, you know, he had your back. You know, Rich helps people that, you know, kind of like you, Johnny. I know for a fact you helping other people that people don't know about, but Rich is like that too. And for both of you, it's almost like, in my mind, I'm like, why are you even helping these people? But Rich does that too. So
he's gonna I got that, not to cut you off. I got that from the guy who everybody thinks is
exactly why we talk about social learning, right? And exactly why I brought it up. But you know, just to finish with Rich, you know, and I'm gonna give him his trophy for that. But Rich, you know, that's just the way he is. He doesn't look at money like me. Like I don't just lend money to nobody. Rich is like, if you need it, you need it. If I don't get it back, I don't get it back. Me, I'm like, nah, man, I gotta go to your house. I gotta talk to your mom about this. We're gonna have to sign a contract.
Yeah, we need to driver's license.
You know, a lot of times, you know what I'm saying, and not, you know what I'm saying, because we never had a lot of conversations, but just by hearing and seeing what other people say, I think it's the same thing. It's like, I'm gonna do for the people. If that's the reason that we don't speak to each other, then that's on them. It's nothing there. No, there's never love lost. If that's the reason that a person feels they have to avoid me because they can't, you know what I'm saying, get back to me or whatever, I don't stress over it. Because I always look at anything that you do for a person should come from your heart. You're not doing anything for any accolades. You're not trying to get anybody to ask. Like, I'm not trying to boast and brag. You're not going to see me giving money to anybody that needs it on the side of the road with my cameras out. It's just not going to happen. Like, whatever you do genuinely. And I think that just goes across the board. And John, I've seen you with people around you at Applebee's, which happened to be the first place I actually met you at. And at the end of the day, it was like, all right, well, you know, the check, and you were like, I got it. It's like 13. It's like 13 people there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know if all those people expect that from you or that's something that you normally do. But that was the first introduction.
Some point in time in my life they did, but you gotta stop.
But you know what I'm saying? But that, you know what I'm saying? But something like that, my first introduction to seeing somebody doing something like that, where, you know what I'm saying, you could tell like all those people just happened to be other people that were brought there, and there was a handful of people that you told to come.
Yep.
So, you know, seeing that you sitting there taking a bill for people that you have no clue who they are, never met them before, probably never spoke to them after the fact. That gave me a look of who you are. And I'm pretty sure in the next session, I got another trophy I definitely got to point out, because up until recently, I had no clue that was not your biological daughter. Like, you've always referred to her as your daughter. It's never been anything other than that. I had absolutely no clue up until probably like maybe a year ago.
You know, so I think that's why it's so important.
That is crazy.
John, real quick, you know, we got 2 minutes left before we cut off on this part, but that's why it's so important, man. Like, and our show, John, is like there's no better forum than, you know, I'll say it to you on text all the time, like, I'm proud of you, you know, that's what's up, you know. But for me, there's no better way to commend you, you know, people who I love, than to do it publicly, you know. And we don't have to do it publicly, but, you know, it was just that time. Like, other people need to see, you know, people that I associate with, who I care about, you know, they really are these great people. And don't just think because I live in Brentwood and I'm Spanish and I have Black and Spanish friends, I have, you know, that I'm this negative guy and that all of us are negative. And I think, you know, part of this show really will, you know, the more people see it, they see that we're people who can articulate our thoughts. We have emotions. We're able to, you know, educate some people on certain things. And we will always, whether only 5 people see this show for the rest of their lives, I'm going to continue doing it because I think people like you, John, really do deserve their trophies. And allotting an hour and a half to let you know how special you are in the world,
Appreciate it, guys.
is a great thing. So let's
Yeah,
segue to
it
part
definitely
3,
goes to
and we'll
people like John's needed.
we got about 30 seconds left, and we will get to part 3. And what's the name, Twizzy?
The best of beans, baby.
Best of Beans.
Best
All
of
right,
Beans.
fellas.